This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Sam Kwak, and he and his brother came to this country not even really knowing the language or the culture at all, as you would imagine, coming as an immigrant. And we're going to learn about this story and this amazing transformation, because we're also going to share with you today that he and his brother have gone from 0 units to 75 units in 1 year. So we're going to get to all this information. We have a great giveaway for you, and we also have a challenge that you can participate in. Sam, how are we doing today?
Good, and good to be back on your podcast. And I know last time we were here was before the pandemic. And so, yeah, great to be back.
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is you and Daniel's story. I mean, I've always wondered, one of the books that changed my life was Self-Made in America, because John McCormick, who wrote Self-Made in America, posed the question, why is it that immigrants can come into this country and not even know the language and be financially independent within a reasonable length of time, 5-10 years, they're financially independent, when Americans born here on the corner of opportunity and success, and they can't figure out how to get financially free for an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
And they have all the advantages. And what I got from that book was, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, this will be interesting for me, was that I was not sacrificing nearly enough. When I looked at what those immigrants did in that book, how they sacrificed, how they slept on the floor and hid out in the donut shop until they bought it. You know what I mean? Like they would feign going home, they would fake going home, and then they'd come back and they'd eat the leftover donuts and drink the leftover coffee and sleep on the floor till they owned the shop, till they saved up enough money to buy it. And I thought, wow, I'm not even coming close to that kind of sacrifice, and there was example after example after example. And I started to even pretend I was an immigrant, like I was here with nobody, knew no one, knew nothing. I was starting completely from zero. How am I going to make a microsystem that can survive right by myself? And I really didn't know the language of business. I knew the English language, but I didn't know the language of how to speak true entrepreneurial. I didn't know that language. I didn't know the language of success. I didn't know a lot of languages. I didn't know how it worked out there.
Yeah.
And I pretended to be an immigrant. So tell me, how did it work for you and your brother?
Yeah. I mean, there's like millions of thoughts that are going through my head right now in terms of like what is the indicator for success for so many. And it's not just that one story, right? I'm sure it's not just an isolated story. You hear, I know somebody else who came from Japan and had no English at all, and ended up buying like hundreds of units, like eight years after, and studying like real estate with Japanese to English dictionary in one hand and DVDs and courses on the other hand, and just learning as much as possible. So I'll share my story, and I think maybe you can pick something out here. But I think for a lot of immigrants, the choice to even come here is a massive commitment, right? It's hard to even get on back in the day it was a boat, but now it's get on a plane, show up and not know anybody, not know language, and you're just
the culture,
right?
Or the culture,
exactly, right? And and literally, so this for us, for my brother and I, back in 1999, we immigrated here. I remember like this day, like it's so vivid. December 8th, 1999 is when we set foot on the United States. And part of why, and part of the reason why we came here is my family, my parents particularly, wanted to start a church for the Korean American immigrants. And so they felt like they had a calling to be here, and they decided to come here. And when we first made that decision, like everyone else, you have to go get documented, right? Apply for the visa. So what that meant for us is back in Korea, that's where I'm originally from, we would have to go to the U.S. Embassy and apply for a visa to be here, right? You have to, they make sure they background check you. There's, you're not trying to come into the country with a bomb or anything, right? They want to make sure you're legit. So we go through that process, and the particular visa we're getting is a clergy visa, which typically lasts about 5 years. I don't know if they changed any of the rules or not, but we apply once and we get denied. Okay, and then I'm guessing there's like a certain quota of how many visas they're allowed to give out per year, but we get denied. And the second time we apply, we get denied again. Third time we apply, get denied again. So this time, at this point, most people are like, all right, screw it. I gave my 3 tries, I'm done. But my parents were relentless, right? So 4th try, 5th try, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10, and 11th try, they're denied. Each time we get basically a letter in the mail saying, hey, we're not in. But interestingly, biblically speaking, like number 12 on that 12th attempt, the United States government approves their visa, and we finally make it. And that just happens to be around December as well. So something out of that as well, like just even that journey of coming here and setting our foot into the United States and applying for the visa, it takes massive commitment and tenacity to even go that far. So as a young kid, even for me, and I was 6 years old at the time, I'm fully aware of what's happening. And I learned from my parents, if you are that committed to doing something or going somewhere or achieving your vision or dream, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep on pumping that gas and make sure you put enough reps to achieve your goals. So we make it here. We live in we're living in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, 800 square feet for a family of 4. We made the dining room an extra bedroom, and that's what we're doing. And so the one skill that my parents did have, so my dad's a church pastor, but my mom, she taught piano in Korea. So that was the only skill that she had coming here. And I remember like 2 or 3 months later, she found her first student. And then a couple of weeks later, she gets a referral and finds another student. So like soon, a year or two later, she now has like 20 students paying her money to teach her piano. And that's how we basically lived. That was our income for the first 2 to 3 years. But that's the beauty, Mitch, is that if you have skills, if you have something to offer to the society, if you can create value, money comes. And that's the beautiful thing about America.
Did your mom speak English?
Barely. And that's a big that's a disadvantage that she had, was she only worked with Korean kids. So how she had the language,
a very limited market, didn't she?
Exactly. It's like this small of a market to be able to go after.
Of course, she was pretty important to the ones that needed her.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, the Korean population here in Chicago, it's like, I think less than 200,000. It's got to be less than that. It's probably close to 80,000 or 100,000. So you imagine, like, the market's limited. Yet she's still built a pretty powerful business where, our family we were taken care of, and that gave us enough time for my dad to really get the church going. And so that's the beautiful thing, is you come here with a skill, and you don't even have to know the language, and yet you can make a living for yourself. I mean, it's that easy. And I think part of why people struggle with becoming an entrepreneur, or finding their success, is it's one of those things. And you probably heard the saying, Mitch, when something's so easy, it's hard to do it, right? It's, I don't know the exact quote, but it's like, when something's so easy, it's easy to forget or easy to not start. So, it's weird because I look at my peers that were born here, grew up here, has ancestors or grandparents that are from, that were here for a while. And I'm like, dude, you have so much advantage over immigrants. You know the language, you have people, you didn't have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, like I did to get started. You have so much of a head start, like, do something with it. You got so much resource. So what I've come to find out is that a lot of people tell me, like, the American dream is dead. No, it's not, right? I think the American hustle is dead, right? The willingness.
Exactly, the hustle. So because what I learned from that book, also what I gathered was that it was all in the reach for me, but I wasn't sacrificing enough. And number 2, I was taking this country for granted.
Right.
I mean, the people that came here, some of the people in that book, Self-Made in America by John McCormick, I mean, they came from places of genocide. They slept on dirt floors. They didn't have running water. They didn't have all this stuff, and they also were minus the United States sales propaganda machine, which was, you need a boat and you need it now. You need a motorcycle and you need it now. You need a camper and you need it now. And you need a vacation and you need it now. And you need, you know what I mean? Like that constant barrage of get it now and pay for it later, which was basically indenturing yourself to servitude to debt. Right. Credit cards, or whatever it was, you need a house and you need it now. I mean, so after reading that book, I decided that I was going to re-up my commitment so high, my sacrifice to earn what I wanted. I was going to sacrifice so much that a lot of people weren't going to understand me or agree. And it was true. People like, what are you doing? So, well, I'm doing what I need to do to get where I need to go. And I can't afford all this stuff. And I'm not going to do all these things because I don't make that much money to do it right now. And then I was also going to not take this country for granted, go back and say, the American dream is alive for me. I've seen it through those other people in that book. It's just, I'm so close to it, I couldn't see it. Couldn't see the forest for the trees. The immigrants, a lot of the immigrants, I'm not saying that you maybe came from that environment, but a lot of the immigrants were coming from infrastructures where there was no way to get ahead at all. And even if you did, someone would come take it all from you. And I just had to realize that that's not where I was. I was born. I was the luckiest guy in the world. I was born right here. But it had its disadvantage because I was born right here and I was taking it for granted.
Yeah. Well, you get so comfortable that like, you just don't want to leave it. Like I've learned, people are either moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure. Like it's weird because like most people are just in the dead smack middle. Like they don't have enough pain to move them and they don't have enough pleasure to like push them towards that. So a lot of people are just drifting, right? They're just, I have a good, I've been able to connect with a guy named Russell Brunson lately. And that's his big thing is like, people are either drifting or they're advancing, right? They're driven by faith and they're constantly moving forward to something. So, and you're absolutely right, Mitch, like a lot of the countries, especially the really poor Asian countries, whether it's from India or Philippines, like a lot of the social construct there is designed so that the rich always stays rich and then the poor always stays poor, or that trying to climb there's a lot of, you're met with a lot of resistance, or you have to invest so much in education, so much in there's a lot to be able to get to that level. And here in the United States, you see stories like Mark Zuckerberg, who starts Facebook in his dorm room and now is billionaire. You got Jeff Bezos, who literally writes the business plan for Amazon, sells books, and then ultimately that becomes a mega e-commerce empire. Like nowhere in the world can you ever achieve, like even advance that close. So, I mean, it's insane to me that people tell me, oh, people are getting repressed here or people are oppressed here. Like, I can't get ahead. Well, look around, look at the immigrants. So back to my story, there's so much more because like, there's stories of us like sleeping in the van because we can't pay for the heating bill. There's stories where we're going out and picking dandelion leaves because we don't have food. There's a lot. I'm sure a lot more people have struggled more than I have, but
but this is interesting. Keep going. I want to hear more of that. I think Americans need to hear more of that. You're picking dandelion leaves because you don't have anything to eat.
Which, by the way, is very nutritious.
Apparently, you can eat dandelion leaves, right?
It's really good for you. I'm telling you right now, if you want to get on some kind of diet and it's free, you pick some dandelion leaves, put some ranch on it, you're ready to go, baby. But that's come on now, you got to make use of nature. But I mean, that's just the mentality of a lot of these people that from poor countries that you don't have anything to eat. So,
okay, so I bring up an interesting point because after reading that book and a couple other books and talking to some people and having a few other revelations, I mean, I decided to take having a job off the table, that I have to I have no real hardship. So I have to create my own hardship to find out what my body and my mind are going to do about it. So I take having a job off the table. Like, I cannot have a job, and I back myself into that corner.
That's great.
I had to have, like, the weakest link was, it was real easy. It would have been real easy to say yes and take a job. But if I say yes and take the job, I never find out what I'm made out of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I never said yes to the job.
Right.
And I almost forced myself to go eat dandelion leaves, except I didn't know that I could eat them, or else I would have eaten them.
Right.
But, you know, a guy said to me one time, he was a POW for 2 years in Castro's prison over in Cuba. He got captured as a freedom fighter in the Bay of Pigs. And he was held as a traitor to his country, where they didn't do very nice things to him every day. And I asked him, you know, like, how do you survive that? I mean, because you don't know how many days it's going to be. Right. I mean, if you knew it was only 2 years, you could, like, mark off the days and you could make it. But you don't know how long it's going to be. He said, the human body is the most adaptable thing in the world. And if you give it just enough water and just enough protein, the body will figure everything out. If you can keep your wits about you, keep your mind, keep from going insane, keep from breaking. So I believed him, and I was scared to go on my own. And I thought, what's the chances I'm not going to get enough water in San Antonio, Texas? Nice, clean, not 0% chance that I'm going to not get enough. What's the chance I'm not getting enough protein? 0% chance. You know, so all I got to do is keep my mind from taking a job. And that's basically what I did. Slept, did whatever I had to do, slept on the floor, ate rice and beans, whatever I had to do.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, the immigrants are almost forced to start a business because, well, where are they going to go get a job? I mean, they submit a resume. They don't have any education, no language, there's no cultural fit. So instinctively, like the only thing we can do is just start a business, right? We go create customers.
And maybe that's the saving grace. I mean, I didn't go to college. No one wanted, the reason I decided not to get a job is no one wanted to pay me what I was worth because I didn't have a freaking piece of paper.
Right. And it's
I didn't have the piece of paper.
Right.
And so that's when I decided I had the glass ceiling, and maybe not having college was my greatest accomplishment, because if I'd have had college, I might have gotten the $150,000 a year job and never gotten out of it.
Right. 100%.
And so I know guys that have come from Mexico right now, they cannot read or write, but they are very successful people. You know, you don't think about that. You don't know how to read or write, or you don't know the language. It doesn't mean you have to spend all the time learning the language or learning how to read or write. Maybe you just learn how to function around that problem by having someone with you that does know how to read or write. Right. I mean, it could be that simple, right?
Yeah, 100%. So, moving along. I mean, so we basically do that for 5 years, and we're progressing. We're building up our. My parents are income's increasing, and you know, we're able to move to a bigger apartment. Things are better until it's 2000. I want to say late 2007. So we knew that our visa was going to expire, and we kind of got prepared for it. We hired an attorney to represent us to actually either extend that visa or to apply for a permanent residency. And we hired the attorney, and I don't even remember the name of the attorney, but basically that attorney screwed up, and our visa lapses. And in 2007, we get a notice basically saying that we're due for deportation. And it was a huge push back in 2006, 2007 to deport all the illegals and stuff. So we were one of the lists. And we thought, we're like, oh, our attorney's going to take care of it. No, don't worry. You know, the attorney's going to go and make sure he or she's going to make this right. And nothing happens. And we end up showing the court, and we had to hire a whole nother attorney. And there's and it's not a simple thing where you just show up to court and there's a decision. You have to go back and go like there's a new court date. And it's just like a process where it gets dragged along for almost a year. And it's not until late 2008, we finally get to the judge. And the judge realizes, yeah, there has been filings and there's some errors made by the attorney and different things. And so we pretty much got grandfathered, and the judge actually granted us a pathway to citizenship, because clearly he saw the lawyer screwed up, and that we actually did the right thing. So
doesn't seem like he screwed up. It seems like he just screwed you, like a lot of those attorneys.
Oh, for sure. A lot of attorneys do screw you. So careful, make sure you get the right attorney. But I was very grateful that I got to stay, because I would not have just well going back to Korea. And thank God that I did. And in 2010, part of this was I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do in my life, but at the same time, something in my blood wanted me to do this. But I ended up joining the United States military in 2010. And that's right, dead smack middle of my high school year. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So the military was a great option for me. But the military taught me a whole lot of discipline, a whole lot of hard work. And on top of the immigration work ethic that I had, I added military work ethic. So it was like, I was supercharged, right? So come back from military as a reserve. So I switched to the Army Reserve, and it was in middle of college, I decided to start a business. Because I didn't realize that you can start a business until like I got to college. I'm like, I want to start a business. And it wasn't until 2014, I discovered this whole idea of real estate investing. Read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, right, by Kiyosaki. And I was blown away. I'm like, holy smokes. Like I didn't even realize that this world existed. The word entrepreneurship, I didn't even know that word existed until I was 19 years old. Right. I mean, way to go, public education, right? It's what a joke, right? Like it's a joke. It's a joke. Cause like all throughout my public education, elementary school, junior high, high school, never heard that word before. No one told me that word existed. And here I am. I just discovered that word when I was at the age of 19. And I was just blown away. Like this was an option, and no one told me that it was, right? The only option I had was go to the military, get a trade, or go get a corporate job, right? That was the only thing. But until the fourth option presented to me, like this was it, right? I was looking at this and saying, even telling my brother, like, I think we need to start a business. So 2014 is we find out about this whole real estate investing thing. And it was literally the vision, the city on the hill, right? And, being 21 and my brother was 19 or 20 at the time, we didn't have any money, right? We were flat broke, no credit. Our last names are not Donald Trump and Rockefeller, right? We had zero money, and people were laughing at us too, by the way. They're like, oh, what do you kids know? Like getting into real estate. A lot of people were laughing at us and pretty much criticize our credibility. But yeah, I was still determined. I was like, you know what? I know what I've been through. I've seen what's possible. We're going to make this happen. We are going to make it happen somehow, some way. It's going to be just a matter of time. We're going to put enough pressure and energy into this that we're going to break through. So, my brother and I at that point were so obsessed. We're watching videos about YouTube. We're reading books about real estate. We're watching YouTube videos about real estate. Start buying courses with money that we didn't have. We're just swiping credit cards to get courses and coaching, mentoring, going to community local events and seminars. It was basically just eat, sleep, real estate, and repeat. It was just that for 3 years. In fact, I remember also skipping school sometime or classes in college because I wanted to go to the next seminar. Like that was more important to me than actually going to school. And my GPA completely tanked. That my senior year, because I just was not focused with schoolwork. So, and another irony to that, Mitch, is I took a course called entrepreneurship in my senior year. I got a D, and here's how I deserve that D. This is funny. We were expected to write a 30-page report, and I didn't want to because it was too much time. So I hired someone from Philippines to write that paper for me. So that I can focus on my real estate business. And here I was delegating, building teams, and that's how I got a D in entrepreneurship. It's so
got a D, delegating and doing everything an entrepreneur should do, probably way ahead of your classmates, right?
Oh, 100%.
They're out there writing every word themselves. And
Right.
here's
And here I paid
an entrepreneurship that figured out how to sub out the report.
Exactly.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And here I paid a Filipino, and it's crazy. This Filipino person got an MBA, and I was paying that person like $5 an hour to write me a paper on like a business report. And so like I ended up paying like maybe $25 because, it doesn't take that long for that person to write, I'm sure. And I turned it in, and clearly it's not my report because, the teachers see my professors see my reports before, completely different person. Right. So I get a D on that, but I was more so focused on my real business, like this actually starting a business instead of pretend businesses. So it was 2017. I graduated from college in 2016. 2017, we had a massive breakout year, and we met. And I think the crucial thing here is, like courses and books and videos helped a lot. I think that's a great way to get started, to at least be aware of what you know and what you don't know. But it wasn't until we actually connected with people in our area that's pretty much like you, Mitch. I mean, they were just killing it. They're doing hundreds of units each year. They got syndication funds going, and they're fixing and flipping 20 houses at a time. I mean, crazy people out there, and we were connecting with them, and we learned, we shadowed, we were trading skills. At one point I was working for an individual for free to shadow and learn, and to sit in his office and like listen to the phone calls and really connect all the dots. So in 2017, we ended up partnering with one of the individuals that we were working for free, getting, mentored essentially. And it was one particular deal that completely changed my mindset. And that's all it takes, is just one deal to completely change everything. And that deal was, we found a portfolio of 4 single family houses, and we ended up negotiating for owner financing and 10% down, and which the 10% down ended up being like $15,000. So we ended up actually getting that $15,000 because we didn't have any money. We ended up getting that $15,000, and we raised that money from a family friend that actually ended up being a partner with us. So, and that person still is a partner of ours. And that's how we got in. And we created cash flow. We got a piece of that deal, and that changed the trajectory. It increased my confidence from like here to like here.
Well, you just did a deal with none of your own money. You went from having zero to not, and you didn't have any money, and now you're not worth zero anymore. You have an asset now. Right. Some assets, and you did it all with no money. And that's a revolutionary breakthrough for anybody. I remember my first one, I accidentally did it. And then I accidentally bought a house on a credit card and thought, well, because in 96 houses in my town were 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 in the lesser parts of town. And you say you're on your way home real happy with the deal you made, and then you think, I did that with no money. If I could do it one time with no money, I could do it 1,000 times with no money.
100%. Yeah. So that's what I realized, and that was a huge groundbreaking moment. So from there, we bought the 4-unit and then bought a 3-unit the same exact way, raised money for it, negotiated for earn financing. And then we went a little bit bigger. We did a couple of flips along the way with other people's money as well. I thought it was fun just flipping homes and seeing that come alive. And then we ended up buying, I think we went from that to buying an 8-unit and a 36-unit and a 24-unit. It just kept coming. Like it's the same cycle over and over. Cause like once you do that one deal, and you use other people's money and it goes really well, it becomes so much easier to raise money because now that person is like referring you people. Like, hey, you should go talk to my Uncle Joe. Hey, you should go talk to my coworker who's got, $500,000 sitting and doing nothing. So that's how we got that one year from January 1st, 2017, 0 units, 0 properties. And at the end of 2017, we had actually more than 75 units. It just sounds better to say 75. But we have more than 75 rental units just from that. And we stayed disciplined. We focused. We didn't do anything else. We didn't party. We didn't take the money and run. We stayed very vigilant and focused on just doing the same discipline.
You had 75, 77, 78 units, whatever, but 75, right. I understand, because you have a book that you're giving away. It's called 0 to 75 units in 1 year. And so if you guys are interested in reading about this book and how they did it, go ahead and go to 1000houses.com/units, UNITS. That'll take you to the show notes. If we talk about something on this podcast, this episode right here, it'll be over in the show notes at 1000houses.com/units. And don't forget, he did a little over 70 houses, but he also did some flips. So that wasn't the 75 units wasn't just the whole year. I mean, it wasn't the whole year. There was things in between, but you know, their focus was on, and this is what I want to applaud you for catching on to so early. Your focus was on the cash flow, not the cash.
Right.